Thank you for taking a few minutes to learn about Gravity's new user interface. Well, let's start by taking a look at our version 5 user interface, the one that exists today in our current release. To access the full menu of Gravity, it's at the top and it's a pull-down menu, and this gives you all areas like accounting, revenue, expense, so on. And then when you select an area, you'll have access to a view. And a view basically is kind of slicing and dicing the data from that area to show you exactly what you want. In this case, my unposted vouchers view. And then if we actually open up a item, like you see here, most of our forms, because of the number of data elements, are scrolling. So you'll enter data at the top, then you'll scroll down to the line items, and then potentially even down to other items. So the current user interface, while very efficient, does cause for a lot of scrolling. The menu gets hidden constantly as we go and pick another item. Then the menu will come down, then it goes and hides again, which makes it just a little bit harder to navigate quickly around the system. It makes it harder sometimes to have to scroll through forms. So with our version 6, we've decided to take a whole different approach with our user interface. Here you can see now that the user interface is the menu on the left. And it's only going to show you the area that you're in. So financials versus revenue, expenses, and inventory. So down here on the lowest tab, you have the ability to change into another area like expense. And when you go into an expense, you can then pick vouchers. Now, one of the advantages of this new user interface is it actually renders the forms approximately 3 times faster than our old user interface. So the system will have a lot more performance in opening forms, in accessing menus, and so on. Now this menu here on the left is taking up some space. So if you want to remove that or shrink that, you can basically use this toolbar up the top, and it will reduce the menu, and as you hover over things, you'll be able to see those items. So that just gives you a little bit more screen real estate to work with. If I open an item now, you're going to see we no longer scroll top to bottom. We now have tabs. So it's all the same information, but on the old user interface where we would have sections, I'll go back to it in a second, like this is considered a section, the default value is a section, so on. When you have a section like that, they are now considered tabs. And so if I want to go to default values, or voucher lines. So you have the ability to actually have access to the same information, but we're not scrolling up and down. So it's very quick. If I just wanted to look at a note that's attached to a bill, I can come right over here to activities and notes without having to scroll to the complete bottom. So the UI is going to be a lot faster and easier to use in the way it renders and in the way you access it, because the menu does not go away. And so for me to go from vouchers to select checks, it's just a matter of selecting it right here on the menu. A few more things about this that are very interesting. If I'm looking at a form here and I want to, there's a new option here to be able to expand and see the whole list of items. So if I just want to go from AP6 to AP3, I just click on AP3 and you see that it rendered over here, or to AP1. So without having to close the window down, open the window up again, I can very quickly scroll up and down a list, and you can see how fast that is rendering the information. So it's really a very good interface to be able to access data and so on. We still have the breadcrumbs at the top, which allow us to basically go backwards to see a view like this. And of course, you can sort by any column. So if you click on a column, it's going to give you a sort A to Z, Z to A, or a filter by, which you can also look for a certain item in there if you'd like. Also, you'll have a enhanced filtering pane that looks like this. So this gives you the ability to do complex searches. I want to add another row here, so maybe I want posting status to be unposted and vendor ID or 1099 amount to be greater than 600, for example. And so this gives me the ability to go out there and do more complex searches than we could do before. So we're adding some quite a bit of functionality here, but we're keeping the same business process. And so one of the most important things to understand is that the business process that we had before is still the same. It's just rearranged in a different UI and a different menu. So for example, we have going from purchasing to receipts to bills, selecting checks, doing check maintenance like voids, so on. So you're going to see that it's going to be the same business process, but just rearranged in a easier to see and an easier to use system. Reports are going to be on every menu, as you can see here, and settings are going to be under the financials menu. You'll see system settings, and this will look very familiar for anybody that's worked and added accounts to our chart of accounts or done other items in system settings. But again, it's a very fast interface. It's a very easy to use interface, and we think it's going to be much more productive. So thank you for taking a few minutes to look at Gravity's new user interface.